we call the hip slide. And oftentimes what will happen is, and I'll try to demonstrate it so that you can see at a better angle, is if you focus in on this back part of my hip, as that hitter tries to come through, their first thing that they do is they throw their hip towards the baseball or towards the pitcher. Well, we call that the hip slide. Well, what that will do is this. It will take and lock up a hitter's natural motion around his or her core. Now, you'll often see hitters that want to be so aggressive take that hip and throw it at the pitcher, and there'll be a lot of what we call punch and Judy hitters, because they'll be so far out front they'll never ever catch the ball deep, and they'll just be a contact hitter spraying the ball up the middle and oftentimes rolling over it to the corner infielders and getting themselves out more often than not than what the pitcher gets them out. So how do you stop the hip slide? One thing that we like to work on at Knox College is putting ourselves in a good strong base, which we have talked about many times before, and then allowing ourselves to catch the ball with our back hip. We never, ever, ever want to isolate our front hip when it comes to hitting the baseball. Naturally, through repetition, through athletic movement, through athletic ability, you're going to find that all young hitters, mature hitters, are going to clear that front side. So, how do you isolate that back hip? The one thing that we'll do is we'll grab some Nerf balls, some softballs, some tennis balls, and what we'll do is we'll put them in our stance, we'll put the bat down, we'll put them in their stance, and we'll throw a baseball at their back hip. And the one thing that we want to do is, if they're sliding, they'll notice that what we're trying to do with that ball, is catch the ball out in front of our hip. Down and catch the ball out in front of our hip, so our hands and our hips work together. We'll try to catch it out front. If they're hip sliding, they'll catch the ball behind them, trying to get positive or negative reinforcement from the very first drill that we do. So as I'm sitting at that angle down the first base line to a right-hand hitter, and I throw the ball right at that back hip, if that first movement is forward and we slide those hips, they're going to catch that ball behind them, and hopefully, as repetition will dictate, that they start realizing, okay, I got to stay back catch, I got to stay back catch, I got to stay back catch. Another drill that we'll do is we'll grab a bat, okay, and what we'll do is this. We'll ask them to put their hands right at their hip, okay? We'll put the bat there and we'll lock it in right on their hip and make them, with their front arm, stay right there. And then conversely, what we'll do is we'll throw the ball right at the bat. As long as they're not hip sliding, if they hip slide, what's going to happen? They're going to miss the ball with the bat. If they're just striding, taking that natural, quick motion, the ball will hit the bat. Now, obviously, a coach or somebody or another student athlete or what have you working with you might not hit the bat all the time. That's okay. That's why we don't use baseballs on this drill. That's okay. But we're still reinforcing, am I hip sliding? Am I taking my hip and doing that dance movement? All right? Or am I locked in, making sure that I'm rotating around it? And all we're doing is asking them is just go forward, don't move. Go forward, don't move. Go forward, don't move. Along with the hip slide, why is hip slide bad? Why can't that happen? I can see Jimmy or Johnny or Sally, they have a little bit of a hip slide and they hit the ball really hard, coach. Well, what happens when you hip slide is this. As you throw that hip forward, like all of us here on earth as humans, our head is going to follow the largest weight distribution in which we just moved, our movement. I.e., when you start walking, your head follows that right foot that just went forward. So as you take that hip slide, your head's going to follow, which means your eyes are moving, which means you're creating a situation where the ball is coming faster at you than what it really is propelled at you, because your eyes are moving forward, creating an optical illusion, allowing the ball to come on you quicker. And really the biggest problem as you hip slide is this. When you hip slide and your head comes forward, you create a situation what's called a lockup. Because as you hip slide and now all your weight's on the front foot, now you're not able to rotate what we call the back axis. You're not ready to rotate around the ball or through the ball. What you're doing is coming around the ball because your head is going to follow your weight distribution to your front side, and it's never ever going to allow you to clear your hips and allow you to swing around your core. You're going to swing through and out the ball, which was going to allow for you to come over the ball, which is, quite frankly, if you take a look at that swing, as I come around the ball, I'm sure most of us will never want to teach anybody to hit that way. So, as we isolate the hip slide, the thing that I would like to reiterate is this. Make sure the athlete identifies that, you know what, throwing my hips at the ball is not necessarily a good thing. Isolate that. Try to videotape it. Try to show them through those ball drills that I just showed you. Try to let them know that, okay, we've got to work off the back side, not the front side, okay? And then, when that happens, if they're still hip sliding, widen them out. Widen them out. Widen them out to the point where you're not even in an athletic position anymore. And you put yourself, you can see like a Jeff Bagwell or even an Albert Pujols who's super wide. All of a sudden, if they hip slide, there's no way they can swing. The only thing they can do is throw their hands at the ball. And in all reality, that's what we're trying to create. Take a couple of these drills, isolate hip slide, don't let that problem occur.